live. Yay, back in the seats for Tuesday training for practitioners. I'm so glad you guys are here live with me today. I'm going to open up our chat in YouTube. So for those of you who are joining us live on YouTube, we can also chat with you. We're going to talk today about muscles and mobility. So we've been talking about facilitating movement in this month of August, where we are deep in the heat of summer. My friend in London today just said it was super hot there, like hotter than they're used to it being hot. So I think it's hot everywhere where we have summer going on. So if it's hot where you are, I get it. Let's cool down together with some cool muscle talk, shall we? And just dive into something that we can use to support ourselves in the work that we do. The month of August is all about maximizing, not maximizing, I don't like to use that word because we use it for another training, but facilitating movement, not principles of movement. We use that for a different training too. We have so many trainings available in our training academy. And what I like about them is while there is a common theme, which is the human body and how it's optimally designed and optimally functions, we focus in a slightly different angle. Like if the body were a diamond and we were to just turn the diamond and get one more facet of this beautiful vessel and shine the light on it in a different way, that's what we do every month in our mastery training program. It's what we do every month in our club. It's also now what we're doing here on Tuesday training so that you all who are here with us on Tuesday training can follow along. So this month, we're working through what we call in the academy Inspired Beyond Anatomy Level 2. What does that mean? Because the name doesn't really tell you much. It means you've been a practitioner for some time out there moving and shaking and doing your thing and knowing that there's more to see and almost unclear what you should be looking at and maybe what to do about that. And so we use this body of work that we're covering in the month of August to dive deep into that. So we do some visual assessment and we do some joint actions and we do some muscles and how they move and the nervous system and how we can connect with folks when they're actually in pain. Because one thing that is common between both manual and movement practitioners is that after you've been out in the field for not too long, I don't think it takes very long, 6, 9 months, maybe 12. Once you've been out in the field for some time doing what you do, there's almost an instant, like the door opens and all the people with pain come through. And they're like, oh, well, now that I know you when you do this thing, can you help me with X, Y, and Z? Or now that I've been with you and we've been doing this other thing that you do, Pilates, yoga, massage, strength conditioning, now I have an injury that's cropped up, either from the work we were doing, unfortunately, but that happens, or from some other area of my life. And now I know you and trust you. And so, practitioner, can you help me with the thing? And that's right where practitioners come back and say, you know, I know a lot, and now I know that there's more to know. So I want to know more about what to do. And that's what this body of work is that we're covering in all of August. So there's a few different facets that we cover in this particular course. Today, we're going to talk about muscle classifications and what those mean to the movement that you're seeing or not seeing, or the restrictions in that movement, or where the pain might be coming from based on muscle classifications. And that's what we're going to cover today. And I wish with all of my being, here we go, that I could see the live chat. And it's not opening on my phone, guys. For those of you who are here on YouTube, hang tight with me for just a second. I'm going to get you on so that I can see your questions and what you've got going on. Hey, Gary, good to see you. You know, for those of you who follow and believe, Mercury retrograde is no longer, it went direct yesterday. And I find that in the directing and the indirecting moments, more glitchy than the actual like retrograde itself. So that's where we're at. I've got it open. I'm sorry, darlings. I will get to you live folks who are here with us on YouTube. I want you to know that you're welcome and that I'm grateful that you're here. Here we go. Okay, now I can see the chat. Hi, Simon. I'm glad you're here. Hey, Debbie. Glad you're here. Good morning. Good morning. You must be on the go.
So
All right.
Gina, I don't
Yeah.
want to interrupt, but could you just speak about what direct and indirect is? What is that shift you're talking about?
Oh, for Mercury
Yeah,
retrograde. Okay, a little impromptu astrology lesson for today.
yeah.
So first of all, I want to say that there is no planet that goes retrograde. They all spin in the orbit that they spin in, but the perception of them as they relate to our proximity and view from the planet Earth
Mm-hmm.
can look different at different times of the year. It's not that uncommon. Mercury goes retrograde 2 or 3 times a year, sometimes 4. But it is the planet of communication. So, noted if you guys are following your own astrology, whatever sign your Mercury is in has a lot to do with the way you communicate, your messaging, the way you hear things, the way you deliver them, how you can hear meaning behind things. So, that Mercury can be to your benefit, and it can also be something that you get to grow into, like all aspects of our being. But when Mercury itself as a planet is quote unquote retrograde, it means that the communication that it normally fosters can now be flipped. So they say like things from your past can come up either in your own thoughts or your dreams or in relationships or previous issues that you want to navigate that you didn't clear up or projects that you left on the back burner. In relationships, that means old stuff can come up, exes can come back, all that stuff. In just general communication, it can interfere with emails don't get sent. The technology is glitchy. I have the screen open. Why is it giving me this error message? So random things like that are more prevalent during Mercury retrograde. And I have to tell you, I have a very dear friend who is an IT specialist. We were in relationship for a long, long time before we were friends, and we're still friends. And he would say, "You are talking like a lunatic. You know that there's no such thing as astrology." Da, 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 da. And I was like, "Okay, so you mark the calendar and let's watch what happens in your workload." And every time Mercury went retrograde, he's like, "Oh my God, I don't want to believe in astrology." I'm like, "You don't have to, but it would mess up. His work would be harder in that window of time." So, all that to say, when it's retrograding and when it's going back to direct, is the comment that I made earlier, Gary, that in the decision to like switch directions, I find that to be a little more janky for me personally than just the directness or the retrograde.
Got it.
That's
Thank
where
you.
we're at right now.
Very
Thank you,
interesting.
Laura. Laura's
Yeah, thank
100%
you.
on the retrograde. You're welcome, Gary. Laura's
That
feeling the retrograde. Awesome.
that
And
answered a
Simon,
question for me from
okay,
last night.
good. Oh, really? You had one? That's when it went. That's when it went. So that's usually. Yep. Conversations can go sideways. People can misunderstand each other. It's like really, yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, that can happen any day of the week. It's just tends to be more prevalent. Simon, you're 0% on the anti-grade. What does that mean? You're 0%, like you don't believe in it, or you're, I don't know. Anyway, Simon, I'm glad you're here. Chantel's been emailing you. Answer her, please. She has information for you about your coursework in the academy. And I'm glad that you're here. Yes, it's afternoon for you. Okay. So, ready to talk regular direction on muscles and classifications as it deals with the body? Okay, it'll be easier for me to explain it today since we are, over the hump. Or maybe you won't understand a word I say today. And you'll be like, why am I following this girl? She made so much sense before. Okay, so muscle classifications. Anna and Lisa, I'm going to call on you. What muscle classifications do we really highlight? Gary, you are also perfectly positioned to answer this question as well because you've been here with us for quite some time. What muscle classifications do I like you guys to focus on? What are the two different classifications?
Phasic and intrinsic.
Phasic and intrinsic. Yes, those are the ones. So, most of us, manual practitioners and movement practitioners, we're taught phasic, all phasic. And sometimes we were taught intrinsic muscles, but we weren't taught them by class. We might have been taught them by name and maybe a few of the joint actions that they do if they have dual roles. Let me slow down and fill in those gaps. Phasic muscles are the muscles that we all know the names of. Your clients probably know the names of them too. Your biceps, your triceps, your hamstrings, your quads. Those are phasic muscles. Um, Strength trainers and personal trainers like to nickname them the mirror muscles because those are the ones that you look for in the mirror. You look for them working when you're working out. You look for them to change shape after all the benefit from the workout, or you are unhappy that they haven't changed shape because they don't look any different in the mirror. Phasic, right? I know. I've been doing my squats like a beast, and I'm like, what is happening back there? Okay, so, but that's all phasic. Phasic muscles are also the muscles that we talk about in reciprocal inhibition. If you're like, I don't even know what that is anymore, that's okay. Just mark it down. It's something that you want to fill in for your knowledge bank so that you don't have a gap there because reciprocal inhibition is the orchestra that all muscles work in to produce movement. So no muscle moves alone. No muscle in any classification moves by itself. It just doesn't. So in reciprocal inhibition, it's this concert effect of this one does the pulling, that one does the allowing, these ones do the helping, those ones do the stabilizing, these ones do the grounding, etc., etc. all of those muscles would be, you taught this last night, Laura. Good job. Okay, Schatz method on the run. I like it. Fantastic. So, phasic muscles and reciprocal inhibition are all part of gross motor movement. So, it's how joint action is made and how movement is formatted, right? So, as we nickname phasic muscles mirror muscles because we can see them growing in the mirror or not when you're doing your workout, they're also the muscles that you can see movement happening in. So, when we point to joint action, what's the joint action? What muscle's doing it? Is the joint action happening? Is the muscle allowing it? We're always targeting phasic muscles because we can see the joint action happening, and the muscles that do that joint action are the phasic muscles. This is important for a million and more reasons. What about slow twitch, mixed twitch, Simon? Yeah, I was actually, you're on my mind, Simon. You're in my mind. This is exactly what I'm talking about. So, next, so phasic muscles and the other group that we haven't highlighted yet here today, although we have several times on Tuesday training, they're wired differently from the brain. And that's really important, not only to just know about the magical complexity of this vessel that we are in ownership of and responsible to as service providers, but it also dictates how we interface with these muscles and what the client's experiencing when those are the muscles that are, as I call it, in curtain number three, misbehaving. They're different signals from the brain, and you would address them differently. And that would come into our talks on pain and what pain does to the body and compensatory and recruitment patterns, but also the neurology that is connected to those muscles because no muscle moves by itself, but it also doesn't move without the nervous system telling it to do that. So the way those muscles are wired, which we're not going to get into today, but the way those muscles are wired matters. Big picture, what I'm going to tell you about that is that phasic muscles are wired differently than intrinsic muscles. So phasic muscles, while they do gross motor movement and big joint actions that are visible in the mirror and also visible with the naked eye, and also you see the body moving in space, going up a flight of stairs, walking across the floor, picking up a grocery bag, those are wired differently from the brain to do like heave ho actions. If I was in a better mood today, I would make the sound that I usually make. It's like, huh, that's the muscle sound that those nerve innervations make for those muscles to actually contract and do their job, which is a joint action that then creates visible physical movement. The other group of muscles is wired very differently from the brain, and that also includes they're sensed differently from the person who's targeting them and then using them. So the intrinsic muscles are wired differently than the phasic muscles from the brain. But the similarities are also really notable, right? Like they're still muscles, they're still skeletal muscles, they're still all needed for movement, but different parts of movement, different parts of movement. And the part of movement that the intrinsic muscles are responsible for is a huge piece of the Schatz method. So that's why I was calling on Anna and Lisa as Schatz method practitioners, because we spend a lot of time on intrinsic muscles and how they're wired and what they do and the significance of them, and also the significance of their absence. Like what when they're not there, the boatload of trouble that can ensue after that. Anna's nodding because we're like, yeah, I see it now. That piece of information I was not taught in school. And so, which was obviously a million years ago before roads were paved and the wheel was invented. However, there are still groups of graduates that aren't hearing about intrinsic muscles. And there are now groups of graduates who are hearing about them. Thank God, because that was a big gap in my knowledge bank when I graduated and was already in the field. It might be for you too. Just like we don't blame other practitioners or our clients for anything that's awry, we don't blame our education system because they gave us what they gave us and there's only so many hours in a day. If you are like, I don't have any idea what you're talking about, intrinsic muscles, I've never even heard the word, note it down like any other gap in your knowledge and go learn it. Like I said, I've taught this for years and years. We have hundreds and hundreds of videos on our YouTube channel. You can go back and learn them for free. Just type in the search bar, and I'm sure you'll find a boatload of videos on that. I think we might even have a playlist for just that. I'm not sure. Intrinsic muscles are not muscles that you'd see. You won't see them moving. again, Schatz method practitioners are trained to see when they're not working. So there's a step two of visual assessment to notice when things are missing. That you can see, but you don't see them moving in the mirror. They're not gross motor movement. They're wired differently from the brain with smaller, intricate, more detailed. It's almost like the difference between physical therapy and occupational therapy, if that resonates with anyone, right? There's like big joint movements and then there's fine motor skills. It's kind of like that with phasic and intrinsic muscle work. But intrinsic muscles have a hugely important role when it comes to not only movement, but pain and eradicating pain. Huge piece. So while we can't see them moving, we can see their absence if you're trained to see that. And what they do is so dramatically important to carry a healthy base for the phasic muscles to work that I am still to this day gobsmacked that we're not taught them first, which is one of the reasons why we have such a powerful program, because that is one of the things I teach first. I'm like, guys, like you got to have this before that. And a lot of us, manual and movement practitioners, while we're taught phasic muscles, we go after them first, right? We use our thumbs, we use tools, we stretch, we target them with weights. We do phasic muscles first. Maybe we were taught that back in the dark ages because you get more covered. It looks like you get more covered. But I promise you that without engaging the intrinsic muscles, you're going to set yourself up and your clients up for pain and injury. Without intrinsic muscles, it's, I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did on some things in my life, but I'm telling you, that's how it rolls out. How do I know that with such conviction without a crystal ball? Because that's what I started working on when I was developing the method. And that's what was moving the needle. I was like, oh my God, all this other stuff. Busy, 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 busy over here moves the needle, and then I can apply that other stuff. So I really want you guys to have intrinsic muscles. In a nut bolt, I don't know what I'm talking about here. In a what, Gary?
Nutshell.
Nutshell. Thank you. In a nutshell, intrinsic muscles hold the bones in their designed alignment. Intrinsic muscles hold the bones in their designed alignment, which doesn't mean necessarily stabilizers, although they could be. It doesn't necessarily mean joint action, although it could be. It doesn't necessarily mean alignment like chiropractic alignment, although they are being affected through that type of modality, and we've talked about that before as well. It means that if Murph shows us how we are to be in space without any muscles. The intrinsic muscles are what lock this in place when the bolts that are holding Murph together aren't there. That's their job. Pretty substantial, guys, like hugely substantial. And when we are not in this form, while we are physically going at it, especially when we have external weight, like in a gym setting or Pilates springs or TRX or any external weight, when we don't have this form and we're adding external weight to it, we are making this form struggle. Because this is the form that the muscles hang on, intrinsic and phasic muscles. This is the form that those muscles hang on to produce that movement. If this form is askew, so would the muscles that do the movement. It's just design. It's just design. And if you came from a manual background like I did, from training, I mean, I was a movement practitioner first, but anyway, it was kind of both at the same time. But I was training and being licensed as a manual practitioner to work clinically first. We weren't taught about movement. We're taught about, how to position the client on the table and how to position us with safety so that we can then do the work that we need to do to the muscle that isn't moving. So if the muscle isn't moving while I'm working on it, it makes sense to me then that my schooling wouldn't teach me what the muscle movement was meant to be. Why would it teach me that if that's not a focal point? So again, we don't want to blame our schooling, our foundational schooling. You go on for more training, like you called it, Gary. You got to go on for your bachelor's and your master's and your PhD after you've graduated from your high school level education as a practitioner. So for those of you who have said in the past, oh, my 200-hour this and my weekend certificate that, got it, and you get to go on because there's only so much that can be taught. And for movement providers, you guys are taught phasic muscles because that's what you're moving. That we just said that under classification definition, that's what you're moving. The muscles who do the movement. So it would make sense that the other body of muscles would be left out of the equation in your primary training. Makes sense. Like, do I wish that we were all enrolled, committed for our lifetime because that's how long it will take to not yet learn everything about the body? Do I wish for that? Yes, but that's very difficult to market. Very difficult to market. If any one of us thought at the beginning of our massage therapy school, our Pilates training, our yoga teacher training, or our personal training, if any one of us thought that if I make this step and I pay my money and I commit my time, that I'm never going to get out of there, we wouldn't have signed up, most of us. Most of us would not have signed up. But honestly, that's what it takes, guys.
Hmm.
Given the complexity of this vessel, that's what it takes. So we don't get to you don't get to trash our foundational training for what it didn't teach us. We are the ones that are holding ourselves back when we don't continue, given the complexity of what we're navigating. Simon, does Pilates engage intrinsic muscles or yoga? So love this question. Here's why I love this question. It's not a particular modality that will engage a phasic muscle optimally or not, or an intrinsic muscle optimally or not. It's not the modality. It's how you do that modality. I'm going to give you an example. I think I mentioned this last week in Tuesday training. I went to a bar class 2 weekends ago. No issue with bar. I love bar. That's why I went. Hello. I went to a bar class. I was invited as a guest. Of course, like sign me up. Let's go. Let's put on some good music and move some muscles and feel stronger. And because it was the first time I was a guest, first time at the studio, the instructor gave me a warm welcome, loved it. It was all beautiful. Have you been here before? Do you know Pilates? Do you know yoga? I'm like, I do. I know both. She's like, you're going to be fine. Just remember, she says, even though she knew I knew Pilates and yoga, I didn't tell her what I do for a living. I just said, yeah, I've been in a Pilates class and done yoga for a long, long time. And what she said was, just remember, when we're on our back, make sure you tuck your pelvis. You want your lumbar spine pinned to the floor. And I was like, oh, okay. Why do I want to do that? And she paused for a second and was like searching for the answer. And she said, it protects your core. So somebody told her that that was an answer. And so she's now just repeating that as an answer. And here's what I will tell you about that. Murph will tell you. If this is the design of Murph's skeleton while he's standing, and there involves a lumbar curve, and this is the design of Murph's body while he's laying down, and therein lies a lumbar curve. This is the body's design, and the muscles that hold this design hold this design. If this is the way the body's designed and the way we move the body when it's designed, if we move the body the way it's designed, we have no pain, then there would be no pain if I moved while my spine was in this position. So for me to dramatically reverse this curve, which would put tensile stress here and either contractile stress or slack here on both muscles, which is also a very popular sitting posture, right, with our lumbar curve reversed. If I'm going to do that and then add weight, I'm going to hurt myself, aren't I? Yes, I am. So is it and Pilates did the same thing? I was in Pilates for, I don't know, 9 months and it was told the same thing. You're going to do hundreds. Make sure you really engage your core, press your spine, tuck your pelvis. Same thing with yoga. Same thing with personal training. Same thing with none of those things and just working out at home by myself. If you're not taught, if you don't teach your clients how their body is designed and what muscles should be engaged to hold that design so that then they can move physically, they'll hurt themselves in your class too. And it doesn't matter if it's Pilates or yoga or purple polka dots. It doesn't matter what it's called. It's how you do the thing. And we as practitioners are responsible for filling in that gap. If we continue to look outside of ourselves for a technique or a particular modality to do all the magic outside of the body, we're mistaken because that's not where the movement even happens. The movement happens from the inside. So the long answer for your question, Simon, but I'm super heated about that. That's literally why I'm here every Tuesday, and it's literally why I train practitioners to the level that I do, so that that madness can stop. Because Pilates is meant to heal you. So is yoga. So is personal training. So is hugging. Like it's all meant to heal you. But if you're not doing it optimally the way your body's designed, it will harm you. Walking up a flight of stairs. We actually repattern walking upstairs in the first month of the Schatz Method practitioner training program because it's that prevalent. And that happens with people who work out or don't work out, Pilates, yoga, or never. You can hurt yourself the way you move, no matter what it is that you're doing. And it's not the stairs' fault. It's not the Pilates former fault. It's not the yoga mat's fault. It's how are you doing that movement? So we get to know how are we supposed to do the movement and then be able to instruct that and then spot it visually and then make corrections if it's not happening. That's our role so that we can be useful in a movement setting and not be replaced by an at-home app. And it's also how we're valuable as a manual practitioner so that our clients understand why they're so sore when they come to us to relax when they've been doing all the right things for their body for the last 6 days before they saw us. They were doing the right things, but were they doing them in an optimal form? And chances are not. That's why we're here to change it. Laura, Simon, all movements should engage intrinsic muscles, including walking and weightlifting. Exactly, if you're doing it the way the body's designed. Okay, it could. I would say, you know what I just heard? You know, Laura, how I am with words. I love the should that you put in parentheses because yes, because that implies that it may or may not. But also, we don't should. And so what else do you use? And so I just was taught this. Instead of using should or would, we exchange it for could. I could. I could. That's more empowering. I'm like, oh, look at that one word difference. One letter difference makes all the difference. So it could engage intrinsic muscles, including walking and weightlifting. Pilates could, yoga could. It also could not, but it could. So we're gonna lean on the it could when done correctly. Absolutely. All right. I love this. So phasic and intrinsic, two muscle classifications, wired differently from the brain. Um, do different purposes that absolutely interdependently rely on each other as the body does. That's its design. So you are an interdependent being, my friends. You get to be dependent on someone, not codependent, not like dependent like you're helpless, just interdependent. Interdependent. We rely on each other. We do different things and we're better together. Absolutely. So how does this all lead to pain? Are you guys wondering? Yeah, kind of already said it, right? How it all leads to pain. So we've kind of already outlined if our body is not in position the way it's designed, which doesn't mean rigid, it just means aligned, skeletally aligned. And that again does not mean that a chiropractor aligned you. Your muscles are holding your bones. Hello. When we are moving the way we're designed with the muscles that are meant to do that joint action, so when we're using our intrinsic muscles in our design alignment to do a movement, a phasic action movement with phasic muscles, and all of the muscles aforementioned are part of the program, there won't be any pain. And if we're doing movement not in that alignment, we're setting ourselves up for pain. When we're doing movement without the right muscles to do the job, we're also setting ourselves up for pain. A really interesting timeline here is that it's never immediate. It's never immediate. And that goes back to how much our body is our friend. So as soon as we make a little error, as soon as we sit in our seat with our lumbar spine reversed, as soon as we slouch a little bit and have our head just 1 inch forward of our axis, our body doesn't go on like, you freaky crate. Like it just doesn't do that. Like there's room for error, there's room for consideration, there's pause and effect. There's like, I got it, don't worry, it's okay. There's a lot of that. So by the time the body's given you a symptom of discomfort, it has been there a while, which makes it really challenging for the client to identify what they were doing that was not optimal, right? You just bent down to pick up your pencil. Did you do it optimally, Gary? It's okay. It's okay. You weren't weight bearing. Simon, muscle pain or other soft parts tissue pain? Other soft parts tissue pain. Well, I'm not sure what you're asking, Simon, but soft tissue would be muscles, tendons, ligaments, skin, even blood vessels and nerves are included in soft tissue. So I'm not sure what you're asking, but musculoskeletal pain, let's call it that. Visceral pain. Well, visceral pain would be organ pain, and organs don't have the same wiring as muscles. So when an organ is in duress by its own like organ system daily work is under the gun, it will often refer its symptoms to a local muscle so that the nervous system can pick up the pain sensation and send the human that owns that organ a message that there's a problem. But organs don't usually have pain just all on their own, and they wouldn't have them directly related to movement because of their wiring and how they communicate to the person through their nervous system. But you can affect an organ. So let's say this. Let's say I'm seated, not like phasic muscle referral. Yes, usually, Simon. It can sometimes be intrinsic muscle referral, and that's trickier to find. It takes a little bit more sophistication to figure that out. And as you learn intrinsic muscles and their role, it becomes more available to make that consideration in your assessment. But I'll give you an organ example. Let's say, for example, I'm supposed to be seated like this, right? I could be seated like this. Could be if I was using my intrinsic muscles and my phasic muscles to do this job. But let's say I'm not doing that. Let's say my lumbar spine is reversed and I'm doing the human habit of slouching. Okay. What happens then? You can't do it in Murph because he's bolted, but what happens then is the thoracic cage lowers, the diaphragm, which sits right up underneath it, then gets affected. And now its effect on every inhalation and exhalation, which is meant to massage organs, now its effect can't be full on all the organs that it affects when it contracts and releases because it's not in alignment to be able to contract and release fully. So now I do have organ interruption, let's call it. For example, if my stomach is in this area and I'm slouched in that way and my diaphragm isn't really working and I've just eaten a full meal, my organs are supposed to move. We talked about this in Inspired Beyond Anatomy Level 1, guys, last month. That's what we were talking about in that body of work. Your organs are supposed to slosh around. They're not meant to be rigid. So when you, as massage therapists, hear someone's core gurgle and they're like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, my body's making all these noises, that's actually a good thing that they're relaxed. What's not great is that it took your massage to get them in that state, which means those organs were not functioning, yay, neither is my tongue, full on the way they could be while they're locked and not sloshing. So my skeletal alignment impedes my diaphragm and then could impede the ability for the organs to slosh around, which then affects everything those organs do, like digestion. If I'm not digesting my food, I'm not absorbing my nutrients. If I'm not absorbing my nutrients, I'm not strong and healthy and vital and clear-minded. It is a domino effect. So it's not a direct visceral pain issue, Simon, and it's not always a phasic muscle that needs to be on the chopping block, but we're interdependent by design, so it's all affected. My sort of highlight reel that I always go back to is return the body back to the way it's designed, and there won't be pain anywhere. I don't have to worry about, is that a problem? Is that a problem? Is that a problem? Yes, it's all a problem if we're not if we're not moving the way we're designed. It's all a problem. Anything is suspect at that point. And again, the body is going to try to take care of it for some time. So I was starting to say that. And I did, if I do Pilates with my low back on the carriage, or I do this bar class with my pelvis tucked, which is going to reverse my lumbar curve to quote unquote protect my core, as that practitioner said, I might only feel a little bit of soreness that feels like it was productive soreness from having worked out. I won't feel right away that my body is like, oh my God, why did you bear weight on those muscles in tensile stress? Why did you do that? It won't tell me that leaving that class. It might not even tell me that after leaving that class the fifth time. So that makes it really tricky then to tell your client that they need to repattern, which is part of our Schatz method, to do something different than they've already done that they think didn't elicit any pain because it didn't the first time or the fifth time. It's also tricky for us to try to figure out, well, what was this client doing that then got them into the pain pickle that they're here for me to solve with them? What were they doing? So we don't want to just take for granted, oh, I did Pilates, but I've been doing Pilates for 6 months. Like, I'm good. My teacher's really good. She watches everything. Good, but she can't see if your lumbar spine is on the carriage or not. Because my Pilates teacher was really good too. And that was missed for about 9 months. Doesn't matter if you're good. You can't see what you can't see. But when you get to know all of it and then ask better questions. So just because you go to Pilates every week for 6 months, are you doing it this way? Gary, oh, your comment just went away, Gary. Could you read it for me? What's your question?
Yeah, is there a way as a practitioner to determine or delineate pain that's produced through fitness or exercise versus body misalignment over a period of time? So
I
how do we determine, or can we?
absolutely we can determine all of that. That's in our wheelhouse. It takes extra training. It's not going to come from your first certificate, probably. The short answer is it's the same,
Hmm.
right? Like if the body's out of alignment, then it would impede the exercise. And how would you do the exercise full on if the body's out of alignment? We've talked about that. You were at that master class, Gary, maximizing the lever system. If the body's not in alignment, the muscles can't fully function. It's like pattern interrupt. It doesn't allow full contraction of a muscle when the bones that the muscles rely on are not optimally aligned. It impedes the muscle's ability to use those bones as their leverage tool. So it would be short answer, both. What you get to decide, though, as the clinician, is what is their current alignment? What alignment did they take into that movement? And even if their alignment is optimal, what did the weight bearing in that exercise do for them? And were they able to call on all of the muscles needed to do the joint action in that workout? So it's everything that we just said. You just parse it out a little bit in smaller bites to then figure out where your assessment is to then support the client that you're serving. Short answer is it's both. So, and the reason I like to say that is because we tend to get like buried with data and then we like take ourselves out of the game too quickly. It's the same. It's the same. Your assessment gets to be shifted, but it's the same. It's one design, off base, and return to one design. That's always the same. It's always, if you stay there, you'll win every time. Sherry, love organs don't have the same messaging system and will engage a muscle to bring awareness. Yes, it's part of our magic. Oh, you guys are going fast. Simon, so what's the best aligning modality that could help in general? The Schatz method. Simon, exactly, Gary. I don't know what you said, Gary, but it lit Simon up. Simon, isn't professional athletes or sports pushing the body's capabilities? Depends, right? I would put that in the same category, Simon. Some athletes, I've worked with athletes before, football, basketball, wrestling, skiers. I've worked with a bunch of them, not at an Olympic level, but at like regional, competition levels. Some of them have such distorted form that it's alarming to me that they continue to go. And it's really difficult to enroll them in switching because they're used to doing it the way they do it and they want to win and they don't want to stop and switch and do something different that feels hard or challenging that could also take them out of the win. So when you're saying professional athletes, what I'm hearing is they want to win. And so they have a pattern of how to do that. It's still possible and I believe necessary to repattern them back to optimal function for sure so that their career can last. That's a different messaging though. You got to message that to them, right? Sometimes they're like, and I remember, I realize I just stopped sentences. I remember working on some former professional football players who were in a lot of pain and they weren't even working out, on the field anymore. They'd retired. And I would get in conversations with them and they'd say, you just do what you need to do and take whatever you need to take, meaning medication, to mask the pain because you know your career is only going to be a short time anyway. And I remember it was early in my career, I was in my 20s. I remember early in my career going, why would you opt in for that? Like there's got to be another answer, right? There's got to be another answer. And that's what I think you're asking here, Simon. There is another answer. If those athletes knew at the beginning that there was a way to do it optimally that could provide them a lot of movement pain-free in their body for a longer period of time, I bet most of them would take that. But if they start believing that they're just going to be in pain because of the nature of their sport, then they won't really want to change and make it harder to do the sport that's already hard because they're already in pain. And that said, some sports do elicit pain, right? Think about football players, guys. They're emulating war. This is not like cross country skiing, which is also hard, by the way, but it's like you're plowing into each other with metal helmets on your head, creating all kinds of lesions, adhesions, and Golgi tendon organ responses in every muscle that's got impact on it. And then you're making it work at full throttle for the rest of I want to say innings, I know it's not innings, of the game, right? Like that's just madness. And so is war. So there's that. But there's probably ways that they're training that could be more optimal that would help them recover from that type of episode on the field. And I don't think that's happening. What's usually being offered, at least in the town that I live in now, what's usually being offered to those athletes is stretching and massage to relax the things that are tight, but not actually learn how to use them in more optimal function, which is straight up what we do at the Schatz method. So it's just a different approach, but I don't know if they're pushing their bodies beyond their capabilities. Our bodies are designed to move, but how they move is the key. How they move is the key. Gary, did you have another question? Was your hand up? No. Okay. All right, well, this is fun. Any other questions, guys? I recognize I've been talking for most of the time, and thank you for your questions, Simon. It helps me know how I can pour into you. Any other questions, guys, that I can answer for you while we're still here? Classifications of muscles, facilitating movement, whether you are a manual or a movement practitioner, all valid. Okay, great. Gary, you're a manual practitioner. Is this landing for you that this is still valuable even though you're not directing movement?
Super informative, just mind-boggling.
I love that.
And I'm one of those guys that took this, massage work just too early, 2 years earlier than you did, or later than you did. So yes, I suffered from the deficit of that lack of information, and yeah, this is just it's great information. Thank you so much.
You are welcome, but none of us suffered. We're here striving, striving, striving. Lisa, what about you as a manual practitioner? Is this valuable for you, even though you're not
Oh,
instructing
yeah.
movement? Yes?
Yes. I still, I think I know I've had good training now in intrinsic muscles, but
Mhm.
I need to be reminded of the many facets of deliciousness that they offer for a healthy body.
Yes, that's so good. I love it. And Anna, is it changing the way you do movement as a movement provider?
Um, I think my focus, because of our training, has always been or starts with alignment and how we're designed.
Mhm.
And so posture and balance
Mhm.
is really big. So the intrinsic muscles and strengthening the intrinsic muscles is my go-to.
Mhm.
Yes.
Excellent.
So
Yeah.
super important.
Okay, great. So you guys have all confirmed both sides of the bodywork lane, manual and movement alike. This information is valuable for us so that we can navigate folks who've come to us with pain and prevent them from experiencing it while they're in our care. That's the goal. If that's what we got from today, perfect. And again, I just want to remind everyone this content is in our course of the month, which is Inspired Beyond Anatomy Level 2. We're highlight reeling that here on Tuesday training for everybody everywhere. So glad y'all are here in the live chat on YouTube. If you want to dive into the course, it's running right now for the whole month inside the club. It's part of the club membership. There's no extra charge for the course, and it does run through the whole month of August. There's still plenty of time to get in there. We have the course running in August. We have study groups every week where you can live workshop it out, this content or any other content, like if you have client work as well. Of course, you can come in the club seats with me here, and we have a whole bunch of extra training on gait and all kinds of other goodies that are in the club. And you can come as my guest for a week in the club. So if you want to dive in and see if this information is valuable for you, please do join us in the club. You're welcome as my guest, like I said, for a week. Sherry gives me some concept I want to go look into. Thank you. You are welcome, Sherry. I'm glad you want to go look into that. And if I'm not mistaken, Sherry, you're a manual practitioner, right? Am I remembering correctly? Hope I'm remembering that correctly. Good. Yeah, I want you guys to apply it right away. So, guys, please do come join us in the club for the month if you want the whole coursework. And also, if you're looking for more information on intrinsic muscles, you can do that also for free on the YouTube channel. Just go back into our channel and search in the search bar intrinsic, and I'm sure you'll have a ton of videos pop up about that. It's worth the deep dive for sure. I just want to also emphasize again, I got a couple emails over the weekend. I'm not teaching the Schatz method here on the YouTube channel. You're not going to get it here. We don't do it on Tuesday training. We don't sift it through AI. None of our practitioners are permitted to do that for a million reasons, mostly about safety. But we are here learning anatomy. So if this anatomy is lighting you up, then that's great. It's going to fill whatever other modalities you're already using. And I want that for you. I want you to have a more rich experience with the work that you're doing. But the Schatz method is also offered. It's just offered privately in a private container that we don't publicize on the internet. So just wanted to make sure that that was clear. There are Schatz method practitioners in the club though. So if you wanted to interface with Schatz method practitioners, that would be the only public place to do that. Anna's there, Lisa's there, exactly. So you can interface with Schatz method practitioners, but just not get the methodology in that arena. But you're still welcome to join us there. Okay, my friends, I hope that this was valuable for you. As you all mentioned, I'm glad that it was. If it is, and you are on YouTube and you want to let me know that that was valuable, I would love to hear that feedback. You can thumbs up, you can like the video, and definitely invite your friends. We all get to grow together. As Gary brought up last week, we get to be in partnership with other practitioners, and that doesn't mean being in an adversarial relationship with them. Sometimes it means just invite them into where you know that there's some value for them so that we can all grow together. Sherry says your manual, and it's right behind the heart. Sherry, can you put another? I think it might say Qigong because it's got a Q there. There's a little heart on my device that I can't always see the last comment that came in. Manual and Qigong Tai Chi, beautiful. And you thumbs up. Okay, awesome, Simon. Thank you. Simon, make sure that you connect with Chantel. She's been emailing you, like I said earlier. And thanks for putting that extra comment in there. Simon knows how to work the chat. He knows how to work the chat. Love it. Okay, guys, it's been so fun sharing the hour with you. I look forward to seeing you guys again next week. And until then, continue to do great work in the world. Bye for now.
Okay.